Hello there and welcome back to Break the Twitch. My name is Anthony, and if you're anything like me, there are two distinct camps for, let's say, the type of things that need to get done. One is the things that I'm excited about and really into and I do immediately. The other is things that I'm resistant to, maybe procrastinating on, don't really want to do, and maybe don't even know how to get started, and then they sit. Now, for the things that we're excited about, obviously, it's pretty straightforward. You can just start those things and do them, but there are a lot of important things that fall into that procrastination category. Of course, the simplest solution of all would be to just learn how to enjoy all the things you have to do. And well, there might be some truth to that where we can find ways that are more exciting or turn things we need to do into games so that we can enjoy them more. That's not necessarily practical for everything. And so we need to take an approach to deal with those things. This is something that I have worked on for a really long time, and I'm sure that the fact that I have ADHD has something to do with it and why this is particularly difficult for me. But I have found something that helps. It's not going to fix the problem every time. It's never going to be perfect, but it's a mentality and a mindset that you can use to get those things moving when you've been putting them off for a while. Just before jumping in, I'd love to let you know that this video is sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online community for creative, curious people. They have actually not thousands, they have tens of thousands, if not more, classes and courses on as many subjects as you can imagine. There are so many topics from DSLR photography to mindfulness meditation to chess strategy. Just about anything, you can find it there. One of the really cool things about Skillshare in general is that when you make the one-time annual payment, it averages out to less than $10 per month. So the first 1,000 people that click the link in the description of this video will get a free trial to premium Skillshare membership, so you can check it out and learn some stuff there too. Thanks so much to Skillshare for sponsoring this video, and for now, let's get into it. All right, I don't want to make you wait any longer, so I'm going to tell you what it is. This is something that I call the habit rule of half, and it's a very helpful way to approach the things that tend to roll over from one to-do list to the next and to the next. It's really simple. In theory, in practice, it's really simple, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily easy. It's not a magic bullet, or it just isn't going to solve magic bullet, silver bullet. It's not going to solve all your problems just automatically. You still have to do stuff, but it changes the mentality of how you approach it, which is really helpful. So all you do is take something that didn't quite make it off of your to-do list today, and then when you put it on your list for tomorrow, assuming you still have to do it, you cut that thing in half. Now, I know that's counterintuitive because, well, now I'm a day behind. I need to do more. So a lot of the time what we would do is maybe put more pressure on ourselves, add to the thing that we need to do because, well, now we have to catch up. And, well, I mean, that's something that I've done, but that's actually the wrong way to think about it. There are a lot of different things that work for different people. So if that works for you, that's great. But for me, I tend to find that that actually creates more overwhelm and more resistance. Because if in the moment I'm resisting doing that thing or I'm procrastinating on it and I don't know how to get started, there are usually reasons for that. That stuff doesn't happen by accident. I really believe that it's not just us being lazy. It's not just us just not wanting to get things done. In general, I believe that deep down we all want to be productive, contributing humans and just doing things that matter to us and making progress in life. It's just that psychologically, there are some things going on that can create some blockages, some resistance to those things that are confusing or that there's some sort of fear behind. Sometimes it can be a creative project where we feel like we'll be a little too visible if we do that particular work, if we're writing a blog post or doing some kind of book writing or other thing where we're having to put ourselves out there and stand out. That kind of stuff can be scary to the subconscious. And that's something that I've struggled with at different points in my life as well. So it really comes down to finding self-compassion, because if you just keep not doing the thing, it doesn't matter how many times you put it on your list, any small amount of progress is better than that. So by reducing the amount that you're putting on your tomorrow self, you're really practicing compassion for future you. It's a way to say, look, I know that you weren't able to get this done today, but why don't you try to get half of it done tomorrow and see how it goes? It's less of a burden. It's less of just like intense pressure filled situation. But here's the trick. There's actually something to this as well. More likely than not, you're actually going to end up doing the total thing or even more than you had expected to once you start. It's a mental trick because really it's that starting. It's the stepping into it, finding the materials you need to do the thing and figuring out the first step and how you need to get started. That's the hard part. And a lot of that is just the mental burden side of getting things done. And so if you can overcome that by cutting the mental requirement in half, then it gives you a leap start. And once you're into it, you're probably going to be okay. So what do you do if you get to the second day, you've cut something in half, and you still didn't do it, and that's still something that's sitting on your to-do list? Well, firstly, I would say, do you really need to do that thing? What is the pressure you're feeling to do this to-do list item? Is it actually necessary, or is it something you're maybe doing because you feel pressure that you are perceiving from someone else? Or is it something you feel like you need to do to keep up with something else? There might be something worth questioning there, but if that doesn't qualify, if that's not the case where you could just remove it completely, perhaps consider just cutting it again. So you're down to a quarter of the initial task. If the first task was read a book, then you could just put read half a book. And then if that doesn't happen because it still feels too overwhelming the next day, just put read a chapter or read a page. Sometimes reading just one word can be enough to get you sitting down at your desk or on the couch and actually starting, just getting that book open and reading. That way you can write your book report because you will have actually read what it is that you needed to read. So this is the way that you can really approach things. And it takes time because you have to address the underlying motivation for why we do things at all. It's very easy, as I've experienced, to operate in your life by simply doing things out of a place of shame, doing things because you're afraid of what will happen if you don't. And there are things where there's legitimate fear around what would happen if you don't pay a payment or things like that. And that's fine. But there's also a way that we can shift our motivation and our understanding of why we do things over to something that really revolves more around belief in ourselves and wanting to do the right thing for ourselves because we love ourselves and we love our attention. And doing that thing like exercising or reading or stepping away from our phones, even though it's hard to do, it's easier to make that choice when we're not in conflict with that shame self needing an escape and then the I love myself self. So it takes time, be patient with it, and just think about things a little bit differently using this technique. I gave the book example. Now, this could work for working out as well. If you haven't worked out in a long time and you go, okay, I'm going to work out, I'm going to run for an hour or meditate for an hour, whatever it is, just cut it in half if you don't do it. Even if it comes down to exercising for one solitary minute or meditating for one solitary breath, you can do it. Step into that and then see how it goes. Over the last year, I've been learning a lot about just how much pressure I've been putting on myself to operate at a certain level. To a certain extent, operate at a certain level and then never really being able to reach that expectation of myself, which causes this perpetual cycle of frustration and feeling like you're letting yourself down. It's been really quite difficult to deal with, but now that I'm broadening my awareness of this and seeing more into it, I am slowly starting to see how we can change the way we do things. And really just learning to build self-compassion in the process, bit by bit, even though it does take time and it's a bit hard to overcome something we've done for such a long time. It's like changing your entire operating system. So I hope you find the habit rule of half helpful. You're able to use it to find some self-compassion and really step into doing more of these things that have been sitting on your list for a while that you know you need to do, but have been feeling really resistant to and procrastinating. Thanks so much for your attention. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you soon.